Hello and welcome to Dice on Ice. Here we're going to be playing some Black Hack for session 3 of Pariah. We're going to cut right to the action. All of you, are in this hamlet of Rulefast on the eastern side of Lord Euthrich's manor. You can see it on the hill. It's grand and glorious from this perspective. Rulefast itself is quite small, just essentially where 3 different roads meet along these farming roads. The town itself, the streets are muddy from the snow melt. The people are quiet, shocked from the crime that was committed, or I guess the crime that was brought to justice yesterday by you folks. The priest castrated and exiled, naked and beaten for his crimes of unholiness. The church lies empty. It's almost as if it's been taken apart, beginning to be scrapped for firewood and such. Gothric among you has gone down with a bit of a fever, a bit of cold has nipped his body, a bit of plague and lethargy keeps him in his bed, tended to perhaps by someone at the nearby tavern, locked up in his room with only a single servant to bring him water. He ushers you with a croaked voice to get away. I'm resting. He needs to stay in his bed for this. The 3 of you, however, decide to go about whatever tasks you deem to do, as it seems that you've tracked down the beast, the Bluxtown, to the Fanged Weald, at least, will be its domain. You've heard of many things that it's fabled for, or even signs of its own slaughter. As well as you have gained an experience point, which you can use, spending it to carouse and share stories amongst your own backgrounds to gain a level. And so we're going to hop right in to the 3 of you. It's later in the evening. Gothric's gone away, and the 3 of you perhaps are sharing a flagon of the local ale in this little hamlet of Rulefast. It's a quiet night, as no one seems to be showing up. Many people are either groggy from the snowmelt festivities 2 days ago, or just shocked and staying in their homes due to the strange witch trial and castration of their local priest, and rumors of the beast that prowls the night. Felris, what are you doing? How are you feeling? What are your intentions this evening as you sit and kind of stir this flagon of ale?
Imagine that Felris he's taking one of his small daggers that he has, and he's repeatedly stabbing it into the wood and prying it out and putting it in and just kind of looking down at it. This is maybe one of the more times you've seen him without the shit-eating grin that he usually has on, or making some quip. What had happened here really got to him, and he's just a little bit more quiet now, just putting notch after notch after notch into this wood.
How about you, Darren? You're also sitting in this quiet. There's a leak and a drip that you notice from the ceiling. The roof is not holding back all of the melted snow in this quaint little place. You notice this place is run by 2 brothers, the sons of the Hallanders. One portly, the other scrawny, both with black facial hair that covers their faces, unkempt. And they mill about, either keeping this place clean, mopping it or serving from a flagon of ale. Sorry, not flagon, a keg of ale, the three of you. What are you doing and thinking in this place?
I'm absentmindedly holding and twiddling in between my fingers. Looked like a very smooth gray stone with some purple markings on it, and just staring towards the servants, sweeping the place, and just say, you know, Wendy reminded me of a case I worked a while back. There was also a girl there. She, the case where some sites, some villages were devastated by terrible storms. Houses splintered into rubble amidst corpses. Only there was no storm that had passed through there. Only an orphan girl. We found her some time later in a cottage. Her family was accused for the things done seemingly outside her control, and they were executed. She fled. We convinced her we could help her. I thought we could. We found out she had great power, conduit of chaos, but no control whatsoever. Our experiments only made it worse. We were found out. We were taken by mob. We were about to be burned. There was cruelty in those people's eyes. No fear. They were given a purpose, I suppose. There was a zealot at the square we were held, preaching about cleansing and heresy, pointing at us. Suddenly, she stopped crying. A terrible storm came out of nowhere. It blew away the village between terrible storms. And in the chaos, we fled. Not all of us made it, though. Some were captured again and butchered where they stood. She changed then. Something changed. She became calm, focused, merciless. And then she turned and walked towards her family's land. I knew we had lost her to chaos. I mean, she finally had some control, but it had control over her too. We killed her. I'm glad we were able to save this one. And then I look at my stone and put it back in my pocket.
But with Wendy, all there was speculation, superstition, and just the hearsay of the words of other people echoing each other.
Mob justice is never just.
And cruelty never pays. Here's to Wendy, and here's to that other girl. She holds up her drink. And here's to Prince Schwarzer. She says with a pained look on her face, and the pained look had grown upon her face listening to your story, Darren. And she sort of winced notably when you mentioned that that particular person you couldn't save. And she touches a pocket in her, like a torso pocket in her clothing, inside her clothing, where she always pulls this unopened letter from every day, probably several times a day, and sort of turns it over in her hands. And she says, I too am most glad that we were able to save this one, save Wendy, and hopefully she can have, hopefully this is the start of a new path on her life, one with less pain. For she is still here, and many others are not. And you can tell that she's hesitating, sort of wanting to speak about one of her own experiences, but struggling to do so. She glances down at the sort of plague mark on her arm and pulls her sleeve to cover it, as she habitually does. And takes a long drink from the ale, fills it again from the keg or the flagon that we've got, whatever it is, and says, "It matters not whether." This is what I've come to realize. It matters not whether it's a prince or a girl named Wendy or whoever it is. If it's someone that needs protecting, someone whose duty, someone where it's your duty to protect them, that is something big, and it never gets easier when you can't manage to protect them. But in those cases, you can try to avenge them. It's a few years ago now, when I got these marks, and she says, without gesturing to her plague marks, but you all know well what she means. But here I am, not dead from them yet. She forces a little smile. Prince I was protecting during our travels, he was not so lucky, and, well, still call myself a shield eternal, she says, tapping her large sort of broken shield bearing the sigil of her prince. But truth is, the princes will no longer have me. What good is a shield that cannot protect? And so here I am, to us, and to trying to protect these people from this creature. She raises a cup for a sort of silent toast.
And so what if those sodden lot won't take you? You are protecting something else on your own, terms. And I say that's even more noble than anything, any of those other... He kind of rolls the word around or to it in his mouth, but looks at Kendra and doesn't say it. Well, you're doing good. Helping people. And he toasts as well, holds up the mug.
She gives a solemn smile and nod. Clinks the cup and has a drink.
Haven't always been the best man. And then Felris just stops at that and drinks.
I've seen worse. Truth be told, Felris. You are many things, but I think that cruel is not particularly one of them, for what that's worth.
Takes too much effort to be particularly cruel to people. I get exhausted. That smile kind of comes back. You can see his rotting teeth just barely through the small gap in his lips. Right. Well, this thing, this beast. What say you all? Any plans?
I think we could maybe persuade the hunters to help them. I mean, their job is to hunt things, so maybe they could offer us some ideas on traps. I haven't dealt with much monster slaying myself. I usually just find it and others do the killing.
You're a learned man, though. Have you heard of anything that does this? Anything like this?
No. Not any more than we already know. It's always new. I'll know all about it after we deal with it. As it's always the case with these things. Each of these cases is unique.
Well, that forest looked particularly thick, which means it's particularly dark, and so we'll need a lot of torches, I think. And those strange splinters left behind on those cattle that were taken by the creature. It's curious. Suggests that creature's flesh is woody, knotted. So I think fire may be our friend in this encounter, on this hunt.
I mean, I did think to burn the forest down, but that sounds like too much effort. So. I'll settle for a lantern, I guess.
Should buy some extra oil as well. Make it particularly ignitable. Not many things can withstand being covered with oil and set alight, wooden or not.
Maybe someone has a net we could use, or have them fashion one.
It would be grand if we could catch that thing alive.
I mean, I would prefer it, but gotta weigh risk and reward.
This isn't really a fishing village, is it? Are there any nearby, like...
There's a river that flows through. It's pretty wide at this point. There would be some folk here in this town, or this hamlet, that do fish, and definitely using nets.
Okay, so it wouldn't be too difficult to find a net.
Wouldn't be too difficult to find a net. To find a person who's willing to part with their net, however, might be more of a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead.
I was just going to say, if the alternative is to not parting with the net is having your town destroyed and everyone slaughtered by this thing, we may be able to convince them.
We can be persuasive if need be.
The evening grows late with your plans of attack on this thing, and as the stories kind of slip from your tongues, you realize you've eaten quite a feast, and had quite a bit to drink. This drunkenness has almost given you a momentum into the night that you barely even remember. At some point through all this kind of carousing and the drunken feasting, one of you shares a real story, something that they've hidden away, secret away for most of their life. One of you must alter your background as you revealed a particular truth that you hadn't revealed before. As well, you get to level up, which you get to go through all your leveling up thingies that is described on your character sheet.
All right. So we take a... Sorry.
This also includes increasing your stress die by 1 size, as this newfound camaraderie binds your group a bit stronger together as you begin to trust each other a bit more in these trying times. So you can go ahead and do all your level up stuff. Each class is unique in what they do when they level up. And during the break this session, we might even discuss how someone's background has changed from this long night of camaraderie and carousing.
Great. So everything except my 2 lowest stats, Constitution and Wisdom, went up.
Perfect.
A 7 Constitution. I rolled a 1. Still super plagued.
All right.
And this will also count as rest for anyone, but I think that everyone is already at full hit points, so there's nothing really to rest to gain from resting, I guess.
Okay.
Once your level up happens, it is morning now, with a grand new day ahead, as you find yourself a bit more competent than before, perhaps.
My memory is better.
Your head's a bit groggy and pained with a bit of a hangover, but it's soon washed away with either just resolve or splashing water in your face or drinking a little bit more ale to kind of even it out. Gothric remains bedbound with fever and illness. He refuses to accompany you on your expedition today.
So do we still need to go out and get some of these things, like a net, torches, oil?
Yeah, we
Okay.
can sort that out. The purchase of these things will involve a charisma test and spending of coin to get them.
I'm wondering if Felris might go and get some oil and might procure it through the graciousness of other people's glances away from the market.
Okay, so we'll resolve this for you then, Felris. Roll me a dexterity test, please,
All
for
right.
stealing and pickpocketing some oil from a little caravan merchant that stopped here in real fast.
Would I be able to roll with advantage because would you say that this is a delicate task?
I think so. I think that a thief would definitely be able to roll with advantage for thievery,
Yeah, it's
if
weird.
nothing else.
It doesn't it doesn't say outright thievery, but I think delicate tasks would probably include not, banging the jars.
If you'd like, this could be your invocation of your background for the session, because you can invoke once per session your background to say why you're good at this thing to give yourself advantage. If that makes sense,
Yeah,
I think that'll be
like his background as like a highwayman. Is that
yeah.
right? Yeah. So he, for many many years, lived to steal and to take and to survive essentially, and now it's kind of almost second nature to him. And if he can do it, he really doesn't understand, you know, the reason not to. And we are trying to roll under, correct?
Yeah, roll under. Yeah,
Perfect. Yep, that is a roll under.
perfect. You're able to procure a usage die of D6 of some oil.
Perfect.
You think perhaps you can use it to splash on things, to light it ablaze. You can use it to improperly give yourself more light. So it can be used as both a source of light and a source of damage.
Perfect.
Darren, how about you? What do you wish to procure on your expedition this morning?
Since I'm low on coin and pretty socially awkward, I'd leave the procuring of a net and some light to Kandra, and I'll head over to the manor to find the advisor bearing and check any references to that forest in his book collection of
Yeah,
passages.
I think you'll be able to do that. You walk up to the manor. You're welcomed in easily by the attendant, Berig, who had tasked you with another task yesterday. You succeeded. And he's in your good graces, or you're in his good graces. Either way, you're good acquaintances now. I can roll an intelligence test to find any kind of source of knowledge on this fanged wield, any kind of local legend or expedition.
And I like to invoke my background as an investigator of the paranormal to see if any of these, to see if I can discern anything from that is just folklore to something that could potentially be something out of the ordinary.
Perfect, yeah. That'll give you advantage.
That is a double 20. So, nope.
Nope. All right. You find that this place is sparse of information of the fanged wield. Uh, and the information that you do find is very rudimentary boring and ultimately not useful at all. Um, in fact, it seems that it's almost as if any kind of information like this has almost been, you get the almost paranoia that it's been removed or even burnt, destroyed. Though if that's actually the case, you don't know. But you find nothing, no heads nor tails. You're in this small library of scrolls.
Well, it was worth a try. Say, rubbing my eyes. Thank you, Advisor Bering. I'll head back down to the village.
He'll escort you out and let you on your way. It leaves us with Chandra, as it seems you've been assigned the task of procuring some torches and some flint and some and a net.
Indeed. I feel like torches and flint would be something that's sort of being sold, that'd be kind of readily available. Wouldn't need to try and negotiate someone out of that. Would just be finding someone who's selling it and buying it. So how much do you reckon that might cost?
If you wish to haggle the price, you can do a charisma test. If you fail, the price will increase, and if you succeed, the price will decrease. If you choose not to haggle, it'll just be a straight D8 of coins.
Yeah, she'll definitely try and haggle using the... Come on, we need this to go and stop this creature who's about to come and destroy you. So using that angle, and it's a success on the charisma.
Perfect. You're able to kind of barter back and forth, able to buy things so you can make the torches yourself rather than any kind of prefab torches. You get to roll a D8 with advantage and take the lower price for a usage die of a D6 of torches.
Oh, great. D6, okay. Oof. 5.
After advantage is a 5?
Yes, an 8
Oh,
and a
yikes.
5.
Yeah. It seems that these supplies are sparse in this place. You can go no longer.
5, okay. I will take that because I only had, after spending 4 coins on the carousing, I only had 2 left in my personal stash, but we got 10 last session from Advisor Bearing. So if no one else has got that on their sheet, I've got the remaining 5 of that on my sheet. 5 sheeted coin. Cool. And then for the net, I suppose she would go down to the river and try and find. She probably wouldn't. I suppose it depends. If it's during the day, then probably all the fisher folk are at work and using their main supply of nets. So she'd probably have to go find them there and talk to them there, and ideally try and negotiate one of them into selling one of their spare nets that they may have at home, one that's in good repair, not one that would need work done. And if they don't have one of those, then I guess you'd have to try and get one of them to part with a net that they're using right now.
Yeah. So a similar scenario will happen if you wish to haggle with this fisherman. He's not willing to part with it without a bit of coin to compensate for it, because he need to buy some twine and some rope to make a new one for himself. If you take this one, if you wish to haggle this price down, it's the same way as last time with the charisma test. If you want to just straight up take his price, then that'll happen.
Yeah, same angle.
Perfect.
So, and I rolled a success again as well, 10 under 15.
Likewise, this will be a D8 with advantage for how much this fisherman will demand as he would lower this price down.
8 on the first one again, and 7. Jeez. 7 coin for this net. That'll be worthwhile. That's all of it then. That's the last of our shared and my last 2.
This net, you're surprised, it's quite a sturdy net. Not some ripped, moth-eaten thing, but it's a net, and this is this man's only source of food for his wife and 7 kids, and so he has to. It's hard for this man to part with it, but with the teasing of coin, you're able to get this net for yourself. Now you have a net.
Excellent. I feel like he would. Chandra, she would have to. The deal wouldn't be done. He would sort of say that, this fisherman, and then, all right, Chandra would go and find Darren, who had the other 5 coins from Advisor Bearing, and then bring him there. And yeah, I'm sure it was hard hardly parted with that net, understandably so.
So it seems that you now have supply for this expedition. Anything else you'd wish to do before expeditioning into the Fanged Weald itself? As there was talk of discussing things with the hunters and rangers on its borders.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I'd
I'd like
say
to do that.
we meet them. I think that was just before they're near the woods. I think so. That's what it's after the fields.
Mhm. Yeah, there are some hunters and pelters and rangers who live in cabins on the frontier of this wood,
Yeah,
farther than the arable land when the mountains and hills begin to take over the land.
so we would stop by uh, the hunters and the rangers before going into the woods.
You find a hunter who's fletching some arrows out in the sun, in a bit of shade, cast by a little shed next to his lodge. He notices your approach as you've made your way down this winding farm road that's turned into a trail road as you kind of get through the sparse vegetation that is the frontier of this woods. The trees begin to increase in number and density here, though it's definitely not at all the true depths of this forest. He notices your approach and gives you a kind of a nod, and he stops his whistling to allow you to speak. Day says,
Hello. Do you perhaps venture into this forest here?
"I, yes, I do.
We've come seeking that beast there's talk of in recent days.
A sly
What would you know
grin,
about that?
a sly grin would kind of creep across this hunter's face. Kind of glance around, almost idly at this point. There's no one really nearby. And I want you, please, to roll a d6.
That one?
Able to get one useful information. One useful piece of information from this hunter. He tells you that whatever there is in these woods, whatever kind of beast it is, keep your wits about you. I lost a brother to these woods. It eats you up, it swallows you whole. Keep your wits about you. The beast is one of many things. One of the least things of you to worry about in those damnable Weald.
So this wood had a reputation before this beast.
The hunters, yes. We know it better than any man or farmer or any lord ever would. It's our livelihood, this forest. And to stay alive, you have to know it well.
Then it appears to be foolish for us to venture inside without one of you.
Aye, that'd be true. I could come with you if you'd need a guide. We keep on the trails.
And what about the glory, if you manage to hunt down this beast?
Glory doesn't feed your bellies. Glory doesn't stitch you back together after you've been mauled by a bear.
Oh, I think the Lord of the Manor will be most appreciative.
My wallet would be the most appreciative. I dare go with you. Humble hunter like me sticks to the outside in the clearings where simple game likes to live. Deeper than that, where this beast of yours lives. It's not the
And where are
domain of beasts.
where are the hunters that are not so humble then?
Have to find them yourselves. Cabins down that way of others.
So you keep on try not to stray too far from the paths, you say?
Stay on the trails. He kind of gives you a nod at that ominous piece of advice. Stay on the trails. It almost like haunts your brain when he says it. He says it with almost like a clarity that seems to be almost like prophetic in power.
Well, and I gestured to others towards the next in the line of sacks in the outskirts of the forest.
I think Velris would bring up. Yeah, it would be, I think, very wise for us to have a guide, someone who knows the forest.
I certainly know that knowledge is power, and I don't know anything about woods at all. So I know that someone that knows how to navigate, especially these woods that are familiar with, be a huge help. Can make a big difference.
Let's just hope that one of them will be willing to risk their lives at the promise of coin.
Where they already go in the forest, so they're half mad and probably willing. We just have to find someone that's brave enough to not go 10 steps in and then turn back.
As Darren says this, Kendra wonders whether Darren will be able to take 10 steps in without taking 10 straight back out.
Definitely I'm gonna be holding up the rear.
So these trail range roads kind of wind their way on the outskirts of this forest, leading to more cabins and ranches for the hunters and pelters. Do you wish to talk with more of them? I think that's what you said, right?
Yeah, I think we want to look to try and find a guide who maybe has ventured in a little deeper, and maybe is also willing to. Well, we do have a missive from the Lord, right? Like a contract.
You do.
So we could also show that, and we're not just pulling your leg. Like, we are on this, and there will be coin in it. I think that's what Felris would propose, instead of paying them now.
And so you stop and talk with many different hunters and pelters. All of them seem a bit adverse to the idea of going in quite deep. All of them offer different pieces of advice. One tells you about how a blight grips the woods with every passing moon, to be wary of your game. And another would speak of a fabled legend of a hidden library within the wood depths, rumored to exist since long before even these principalities settled here. And the third hunter you meet, you see him in the middle of some kind of prayer, it seems. You are almost relieved to remember that Gothric is not with you, as you see that he's kneeling before a totem made of wood, placing before it offerings of candles, wax, and silver. The totem itself is a strange scrimshaw wooden carving of some forest god, it seems. Before this one notices you, and seems this one, after a bit of dialogue back and forth, is definitely willing to be your guide as a hireling, in Black Hack terms. Do you say anything to this man in response to seeing him doing an offering to a forest god? in the out behind his cabin.
Does Felris at all recognize, like, as someone from the mountains who's probably not, he's probably more familiar with, like, other religions? Would he recognize who this is?
Absolutely not. You would not recognize it, though you would recognize its nature.
Mm.
It's definitely not. It's definitely one of these pagan gods, ones that Gothric would be willing to burn to the ground if he saw fit doing so. And you're able to tell that it's that this god is local to this area, and you kind of realize that there's other signs of the other hunters' worship of this god, based on other rings and amulets they had worn around their neck, around their fingers. That at first kind of seemed odd. You couldn't really place it. And then now when you see the full patterns of this totem, you realize you can kind of connect the dots, that they all worship this strange forest god.
I think that Felris would pay particular mind to this, and perhaps even ask him about it, and probably showing him his own little wooden carving of a god that they worship in the mountains, something that he keeps far, far away from Gothric's sight.
You're able to learn that this forest god is named Pergazer, or known as the Hidden Lord, who has watchful eyes, and is the king, the lord, the god of this forest. Takes offerings of silver and wax to keep him sleeping and pacified and happy.
And I'd suppose he will be happy to get rid of this beast that's terrorizing the land.
Yeah, this hunter is reluctant but willing to be your guide, as he knows, I guess maybe even just senses a bit of weakness in your character, but how naive and how unfit you'll be for the forest. He will be offering to be your hireling, but of course demands a bit of wage for his own safety. In procuring your missive, your deed, will allow you to roll this with advantage. So one of you will have to roll a d8 with advantage.
All right, I'll do it.
Yep.
Five.
So he demands 5 coins in total, 3 now and 2 when you get back, or when he gets back.
With us, I hope.
Of course. He will guide you in and out of this forest.
I will happily give him the 3 coins now.
Perfect. So you have procured a local guide and hunter to follow you along as a hireling. He will give you. Oh, his name. Yeah, that's very important. His name, excuse me, is Aspar. He will provide you with advantage on rolls involving tracking things and not getting lost, essentially, keeping your way. He's also a good ranger himself and will provide you with a mini supply, his own little D4 of supply that he gets by foraging and following with you.
Nice. And I'll turn to Kandra and say, well, we up for a bit of reconnaissance in the woods.
I thought you were taking up the rear, Darren. Are you offering?
That's why I'm asking you.
Well, maybe our new friend Aspar here can take the lead. He knows these woods better than any of us. Let's see, Aspar. I can come along with you, or myself or Felris. She looks over to Felris to see his reaction to that.
Felix just kind of shrugs as, it kind of just doesn't matter which way, but just kind of with a sly grin of like, perhaps we should leave Darren behind. He looks like a good lookout for anything that might be coming our way.
Certainly, I'll look for clues around here and ask the remaining hunters.
It seems this is all the hunters will tell you. Very ominously, each one will tell you to stay on the trails.
I would just when they leave, I'll just stay and study Bergazer's totem and sketch it up in my notebook.
It's a strange carving drawing. Involves strange anatomical similarities of elk and wolf. Seems the drawings almost symbolize someone who protects and watches rather than any kind of antagonistic force.
And I will catalog it along with other things, and I'll just wait at Aspar Sports for them to return.
And so, with Aspar guiding the way, you delve into the Fanged Weald. With that, then, we'll go ahead and take a break to get some water and snacks as we go deep and deep into this dangerous haunted wood. Perfect. And we're back. The fanged wield beckons. This is your last chance to do anything before you truly enter the fanged wield itself. Any more last-minute preparations by any of you? Or do you begin to dive head in?
I think Kendra would ask who wants the net. Who knows how to use one of these things in, well, I suppose it would be like in a hunting kind of situation, ideally, and not in the heat of combat that we'll be using it. So would Felrus or Darren volunteer? Because otherwise I guess it would be maybe Aspar, get his advice on how best to use it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have the first clue to know how to use that. So, I mean, I can take it. I wouldn't know really what to do with it, other than just throw it on the beast.
Aspar would insist that it's just a flick of the wrist, implying that it would be dexterity in how you use it.
I mean, Felrus is quite dexterous, but I'm. Maybe we could. Maybe we could get Aspar to do it if he is so smart about using it.
He shrugs, taking the net. Very well. And so you enter the fanged wield. This guide comes with you, showing you this trail that leads into the fanged wield itself proper. It's the entrance to this wield that truly is beyond this trail, where sinners were walked to their death during the Inquisition War of 692, which was 26 years ago. The war itself that separated all the principalities into their proper selves, and sorry, not the principality, separated the chantry of Weissman from the rest of the principalities in a bloody war that shook this realm. And past this trail of a death march of sinners is where the fanged wield truly begins. So we enter this place. The trail ahead of you is strange. The trees here have long roots that snake and twine like tangled nooses. There's a low droning sound from deep under the earth that you feel more with your feet than your ears. The trail continues to the north as slats of wood have been laid down, their surfaces etched with poems. The trees along this trail, deciduous, but covered in vicious scars. Everyone will gain 1 experience point from discovering the entrance to the fanged wield.
For our experience points, do we restart after?
Yeah.
We level. Okay.
Yeah. So right now everyone should have 1 experience point.
Okay. Thank you.
And you need to spend a number of experience points equal to your current level to level up. So now you'll need 2, and then you spend them to level up to level 3, etc.
Perfect.
And seeing this strange place will test everyone's stress. Does everyone please roll your stress die? If it's a 1 or a 2, it shrinks in size. Otherwise, it stays the same size.
Steady nerves for Kendra.
Perfect. Everyone's able to keep fast and hold their nerves together as you enter the forest proper. And so begins the hunt for the Blukes Town. We'll be tracking this hunt in the form of marks. You're going to need 10 marks to find the Blukes Town proper. And doing so will take many hours of hunting and tracking. And to do that, one of you will need to be the tracker. Though you'll get the aid of Aspar, who will give you advantage on this roll. One of you, please, or I guess amongst you, decide who's doing the tracking with the help of Aspar.
Well, what kind of roll would it be?
It will be a D6 roll, so not any of your attributes. So the person who's leading the way will be doing this probably. Any volunteers?
I definitely don't think that Felris would be leading. Happily
Makes
following.
sense that it would be Kendra. Yeah, I was going to suggest in character. I was going to suggest Darren. You're the one that finds them usually, you said, but we've already established he'll be sticking to the back. So
Back over here.
Perfect. Kendra, Keel, you can roll a D6 with advantage. The bigger the number, the better. Tell me what you get.
Righto. 6.
Got a 6, huh? You discover 2 marks and a boon on this day of tracking. As you pass through this trail, it's nothing more than a footpath of these strange wooden slats laid on the ground, forming almost like a boardwalk. You can see kind of scribed in them, chiseled and marked, strange poetry that if you were to kind of glance a reading of is definitely of a more archaic form of whatever language you speak now. It's hard to really trace proper the words and the language being used. Any one of you who strays from this path a bit, perhaps even just to take a leak or something, will find yourself being overcome with agonizing tinnitus as you enter the if you leave this path, as the ringing in your ears grows loud and incessant and ceases once again once you stay on these wooden planks. You find a mark, Kendra, and you can go ahead and roll me a D10 twice actually. Tell me what you get.
3 and 2.
What was the first roll?
3.
Perfect. The first one you find the sign of this Lookstown is a broken canopy of trees up ahead. The leaves are broken, the branches snapped, and just the path ahead of you is littered with eviscerated ravens and songbirds that lie dead, maggot-eaten, and almost discarded in front of you. Following along this trail further, you'd find on one of these deciduous trees that's been scraped and scarred with these vicious gashes, some kind of amber or sap clinging to them, not caused by the tree's own bleeding, but something else entirely. Hardened on to this tree, almost like an emerald jutting out of its bark, is some viridian sap, dried and hardened, no bigger than perhaps your fingernail in size, but you notice this as you seem to be on the right way, on the right path, finding this thing.
So I feel like Felris and then Darren, not too far behind, would come up and see Kendra and Aspar huddled around this tree, like discussing quietly and poking and prodding at it. And Kendra's saying, "So this is not," pointing to the sap. "This is not from this tree. This is not the blood of this tree." And he'd be pointing out that no, it's from something else. Something has deposited it here on its way past. That's basically what I got, right?
Yes, it seems like, yeah.
Well, I'm glad we have the oil and flint. I think the suspicions about this being some kind of tree-based creature, or at least wood-based, may be right. I wonder if it's wounded, if this sap may be like its blood, or just some other excrement. Does the sap have a smell at all?
If you were to snap it off from the tree and give it a smell, it smells faintly, I guess, woody, in the same way that sap, does. Nothing extraordinary or anything unusual. Just has that kind of foresty smell that's hard to get. That's hard to separate from the rest of the forest around you. It's hard like a rock, almost even like a gem. Not at all runny or viscous or soft. Perhaps you think this is probably worth a coin, and just the fact that how pretty it is. If you were to pocket it and pretend to be some kind of gem.
Yeah, I think she'd toss it just generally towards where Thoris and Darren are behind to see if either of them will sort of catch it and appraise it.
I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, Felris is all over that. He would catch it and kind of marvel at it, holding it up to the light and looking through it.
Just like a magpie.
And so yeah, it's this deep viridian color, and you can treat it as a coin. To add to your character sheet.
1 coin? Okay.
1 coin. It's not a true coin, however. It's a small little gem that might be fancied by people, and can be treated as such.
That's really cool.
Especially how low on coins you are, huh? This trail that you're on ends as these planks of wood seem to finish, terminating at this kind of opening, this clearing of trees. You kind of hesitate to step off of them, but you find that the agonizing ringing of your ears does not happen when you step off in this way. Ahead is what can be only described as a graveyard. It's no larger than perhaps a small grove or a campsite, but ribs, bones, skulls litter this place ahead of you. Bones, however, not of any kind of man, but of bear, it seems. Some kind of bear graveyard. Half buried in the topsoil and small undergrowth of this place. In this clearing, it smells like dung, earthy and foul, and especially in this heat of the day that's striking down from the sun above. This gut-wrenching smell is almost overbearing in this place. And the trees here seem fat and blistered with disease. There's a person, it seems, a figure, robed, kind of picking through the bones in this place. Their back is to you. It seems they have not noticed you.
One of yours? Andrew says to Aspar.
Perhaps. Look at that cloak he wears. It's definitely real Fastian thread. And you'd see that, yeah, this cloak that this figure wears definitely seems to be of a common make thread rather than anything strange.
Holding the back of her hand to her mouth to try and stifle the putrid smell. Oh there.
The figure would stop picking through the bones and turn to look at you. And the three of you see a sight that almost gives you a sense of relief, as this person seems like to be another hunter. scavenging through this place. You can see some hunting knife in his hand. He's breaking apart some of these bones in this kind of dung-filled graveyard. Though his face is kind of shadowed by the cloak, you cannot really glean his features. Good day to you, he says with almost a calm and listing voice. You lost.
Not lost. We hunt something.
What is it that you hunt here in this forest? The person stands to face you, perhaps about 20 feet away.
A quarry by which we're given blessing by the hidden Lord. Of course. Creature wreaking havoc outside these woods.
Ah, I know it well.
Have you seen it
I have,
recently?
and I can lead you to it.
Felrus gives like this very like uneasy look based on the response of the other farmers has been a little less than eager to see that this one is so eager. He's also going to kind of like see if he can look around this man to see this bone that he's been picking through and see if they are animal, like what kind of bones they are.
Roll me a wisdom check, please.
Okay.
A wisdom test. Or even intelligence if you want to use your like encyclopedic knowledge of what bones look like. Choice.
And I would just turn to Aspar and say, you know him?
Aspar looks a bit concerned. He's a bit like almost like backpedaling back. Something about this figure seems to be putting him off. As he's fumbling through the coin purse that you tossed him for the as payment a few hours ago. What did you get, Felrus?
A 6.
This
And
is
my
success,
wisdom.
right?
Yes, sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
So does he see?
And so, yeah, you'd notice that yeah, the bones here are definitely beast. Definitely a large beast. You can kind of tell by the incisors of the mouth that they're probably either like wolf or bear, although they're all seemingly the same kind of animal. Just bear bones, it seems here. And not like bear bones, but like the bones of the bear. This figure stands fully upright, and after saying, "I can show you where it is," the person pulls back their cloak, the hood of their cloak, revealing what seems to be a mummified person. Their eyes are almost dried up, nuts inside their sockets, the skin pulled taut, wrinkled and old, the gums missing, the hair long and stringy that hangs from his head and hangs from his lip and chin to form kind of a goatee. Aspar, no, no, this can't be, and tosses you, Darren, the coin purse of 3 coins, and runs back away as your hireling has abandoned you. As I rolled a morale check for him and failed.
The fuck?
This hunter takes a step closer to you, Handra, showing full well his visage, his gaunt visage. I can guide you to this beast of yours, the Bluxtown, you probably call it, for a simple price. Not for coin, for I see you have very little. From 1 year from each of you. You see, I've grown old in this place. It's taken from me my youth. I wish to feel sunlight on my skin and water on my lips. I can guide you to this beast, unerringly, for a year of each of your lives. That is all I ask.
You offer this price as as a simple one, yet surely it is not. Surely silver would be more simple. No?
Not all people have silver, but everyone has years.
She kind of looks over her shoulder back at Felris and Darren. But we do have silver.
Silver has no use here, at least not to me.
And she's going through her mind then, like, Aspar told us that candle, wax, and silver are used as offerings to the forest god for protection. Was that bullshit too? Like,
Felris just kind of leans over. Well, at least it's not our souls, right?
I wanna count on it. Well, we seem to be sort of a guide currently. So what say you? I say to Kandra.
she takes a step forward with the torch coming closer to this figure. Try and get a little bit of a better look at the face and the features. And she's quite surprised at how normal, I suppose. If she couldn't see them, she would think that, she couldn't see the face or the features in detail. She would just think that it's a normal person. So, what's your name?
Back long ago, my family and friends, those who loved me, called me Huneric. I've took a liking to a different name. A name that I've forgotten many times over. But Huneric can call me. And as you kind of pull the torch closer, you can see that this man is what you imagine someone would look like if they're just really old, though not at all crippled by bad bones or anything. No hunch, just their body old, kind of strange warts and spots on their skin, wrinkles that pull on their flesh, gaunt features, just without any of the other ageliness of old age. That makes sense.
If you don't mind my asking, how would you take a year of our lives? And I'm opening my notebook.
Through words, of course. Words have power here.
I'm just writing my notebook.
It is a year of our future, right? Not of our past.
Of course. A year is a year, is it not?
Well, some years are more important than others.
If you wish, it can be the year before your own death, to have you die 1 year sooner.
And if we have a year and a day, or less than a year to live, we speak the words, do we die here and now? She says, tugging the sleeve on her arm down to cover her mark.
That could well be the case, but I would not know. You would not know. Only the fates would know.
She'll turn and speak just at a normal volume, not intentionally loud enough for Huderick to hear. I know that ridding the world of this creature that we hunt will do good, and it is a worthwhile cause in itself. But part of this undertaking is to get its blood, to get more money from the woman by the river. and more money from the Lord, and maybe the hope of a cure for me if I die here and now by giving up a year. You may need me to defeat the creature.
You don't have to convince me. You still have a mission to complete. I say we keep going.
I fear, though, that if we do not give a year now, that thing may take many years of our lives. Too many.
I'd rather risk it than be sure to lose one.
How do we know you are telling the truth? Like, Felrus just kind of, like, leans over, looks at the hunter. In normal currency, we haggle. I don't see any problem with haggling here and now. What if we give you 2 years instead of 3? 1 from each of us. Only 1 from 2 of us.
You can make a charisma test, please. As you look square in the face of this aged, old, undead ranger, who just demands a year from each of your lives, an offer of safe passage through these woods.
Ooh, yeah, that's a pass.
You're able to hold your resolve as he looks at you back with no lips, just saggy skin. Who it shall be. 2 of you offer me a year. Bluestown will be in front of you as I guide you to it.
Felrus just kind of like shrugs and looks over at Kendra and Darren like, hey, this actually worked. Like, very surprised.
He gives a look in response like, he's not let us there yet. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
All right. You can have the last year of my life.
Felrus nods. Yeah, well, mine as well.
And as you utter those words, almost as quick as you just say them, the wrinkles on this man recede. They flatten. His skin grows more plump, more firm, more vigorous of youth. The man is now probably only his late 50s now, it seems, in his appearance. Thank you. It will be done. Before the man stands upright, as Henrik guides you, at least, past this copse of trees, past this boneyard, and onto, shows you, as he kind of parts the branches, there are 2 trails that lead out of this place. You would not have seen them without eyes like my own. To the northeast is a difficult trail. We'll have to keep our wits about us. Into the northwest, an even more dangerous one.
Right. Dangerous or more dangerous?
What of speed then? I assume the more dangerous one is quicker.
Of course it is. That's how it works here. But do not have to decide now, for the sun grows low in the sky, and your light will be of utmost importance. Camp here for the bit. Rest here for the night. We'll decide in the morning.
I look around the huge trees and the tall grass and no easy spot inside. I guess it's good a place as any.
Felris nods, and then turns to the others. Also, we cannot breathe a word to this to Gothric.
Absolutely not. We'll burn
I
our
wouldn't
this
dream of it.
And so, setting up camp here is a task in and of itself, even more difficult than that of hunting a quarry. As when this Huneric had spoke the words of it be getting late and energy is needed for tomorrow, you kind of realize it is the case you've been traveling along this trail for quite some time, and you definitely could use the rest. And so for this, there are three things that are of utmost importance when setting up camp. You need to have food for your stomachs, and water, and then most importantly, shelter. Those are the three tasks that must be done by your crew here. There's of course now there's four of you, however. So the fourth person can either help someone out with procuring food, water, or shelter, or staying idle. If the person stays idle, they will get advantage on rolling their stress die when the night passes, here, far from civilization. So each of you will have to assign, or at least who's doing what, essentially. Food, water, shelter, or nothing.
Does it correlate to attributes, or is it just...
Unless you have anything that you could abstract being good at some of these things, it's going to be not. If that makes any sense. Though, if you send the ranger, this undead ranger, he will have advantage on whatever you tell him to procure. For he knows his woods quite well, it seems. Been here for many years.
So, can food be covered by our supplies?
It can be. It is most likely best, however, for you to try to forage whatever kind of food or water you can get. And if you can't find any food or water, that's when you dip into your supplies.
Okay. So I'd say since we have supplies to fall back on, I'd say the most important one would be shelter. So we should let Huneric show us a good spot.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'll just try to find some water.
I was thinking that Felris would go and look for some food. Since he's good at climbing, I was thinking that he could climb up into some of the trees and look for eggs.
Okay. That leaves Kendra. What do you want to do? Do you wish to stay idle, or do you wish to help one of the people with food or water or shelter?
I think she'd go with Felris to find food, because I imagine Darren and Huneric can sort of pair off while Darren's looking for water along the way, while Huneric's preparing some shelter.
So those of you who are trying to find food, you notice something very strange in your procurement of food. There's a strange blight that sets into a lot of things that normally would be edible here. You remember the warning of one of the hunters to be wary of which game you trap. Bring back some mushrooms and some rabbits, but half of them you even catch would be just blighted and diseased and foul to eat. So everyone, please, roll me a d6. However, those of you getting food will do so at disadvantage. So picking the lowest number of the two. Tell me what you get in the chat. As well as Huneric does it for shelter. Okay. So that is 2 successes. as you find yourself short on water and short on. Oh no, sorry, just short on water. Yeah, you're missing. Yeah, you're missing. That's it. Okay, perfect. So you have 2 successes, which means you have a scarcity of water. Where is this? Which means you're just scraping by. Um, one of you, just as you kind of pass the water around, one of you gets the short end of the stick. That'll be you, Kendra. As you will either suffer a level of exhaustion or have to dip into your own personal supply. And to dip into your supply, you'll have to roll your supply dice.
Yeah, I think she would drink from her water skin, and let's see how deeply she drinks. 3, so still good.
Still good. And so the night comes as the moon shines out through the canopy. The shelter here is great. The lean-to blocks the quiet wind that might bring a chill to you. The fire keeps the bugs and insects away. The food, though scarce, you were able to find some eggs in a tree, unfouled by a blight that seems to creep along the ground and infect most other edible things here. And as the night grows long, you find yourself, after you've set up your watch, it's morning once again, and a new day of hunting our quarry can begin. Everyone please roll your stress die, though. For living a day outside of civilization.
Oof. I got a 1.
Feller's stress die shrinks.
I got the 1 as well.
Ooh, your stress die also shrinks by a size.
I got a 10 on my D10, so Kendra's good.
Could it be because a year of our life is gone?
Both both Fellers and Darren, please roll me a D100 and tell me what you get. As despair sets in from being out in this strange, wicked woods.
13.
56.
So it's a 13 for Darren. Darren, you become to believe and accept your utter insignificance in the wilds here, becoming ambivalent, even your own suffering, as you just see how small you are, how vast these strange networks of strange magic exist in this place. This man who's kept alive by the woods, though his years tick on faster than others, with his gaunt undead visage. And Fellers, you said you got 53?
56.
56?
Mm-hmm.
When you wake in the morning, this is what happens to you. You had a nightmare this during your sleep, and when you wake, you can sense heartbeats within 15 feet of you. It rings in your skull like a slight vibration, allowing you to sense the exact location of a living creature even without vision or sound. As you hear everyone's hearts throbbing.
Damn.
Each of you have suffered one call of the wild, as you've grown a little bit more wild in this place, farther from civilization.
I think during the morning you would see Felris just kind of like shaking his head ever so often, like trying to get something out, and also like maybe like tapping his ears, just like closing his eyes and shaking his head.
And so the hunt must continue. This middle-aged hunter who now has some days of his youth now ticking because of your payment to him. He's kind of collecting logs and putting out the fire and scouting ahead on these trails. You now have the choice. He offers both of them. He gleans will find you purchase and find you success towards hunting your prey. One trail heads to the northeast. It's difficult. This ranger says. The trail you can see is outlined by shattered glass and broken mirrors that kind of lie half buried in the topsoil to guide your path. Though it's sparse and hard to find them at times, as only the slight gleam of light can show you your way before straying off of this trail. The other one, the guide tells you of these trees. You have to follow the trees in a certain way. You'll know the trees follow, but the carvings on their bark. This, Keen warns, will be more dangerous as these carvings tap into the weird, he says. Something unknown to all three of you.
Yeah, I think Felris would bring it up. What do you mean? The weird.
A thing more ancient than even you or I. The thing that all life comes from. The thing inside every heartbeat. Inside every muscle. Inside every tree, every rock, every insect. That is the weird. And here in the forests, it's strong. Out in your towns and cities, the weird is weak, though present.
How about we go that way then?
Very well. And so with this guide, is you pick the weird path, correct? Rather than the mundane path?
I
Of
mean, I
shattered
hear no
glass?
objections. So.
Yeah. Is that the consensus from the three of you?
I mean, it's the quickest.
Definitely the most interesting.
Right,
What the fuck are you doing?
Who wishes to join this undead hunter Huneric in the tracking of the quarry, this creature? Or do you wish to let him do it all by himself?
Strangely, I have no fear now, so I could do it if Kandra hesitates.
Perfect. So Darren, you can roll for me a d6 with advantage. Higher number, the better. And tell me what you get.
A 4.
A 4. Perfect. Perfect. Roll for me, please, a d8. You travel along this trail.
3.
As you're traveling along this trail, even using the word trail is not even a proper word to use. It's more just connect the dots with these strange trees as you circle around them to find the markings. They're not all in the same spot. Some are near the roots. Some are high up in the branches. They're all strange and confusing. The way through here is slow and arduous rather than quick, like along the footpath that you traveled, that boardwalk to the Bear Graveyard. This one is long. You sometimes have to double back as you've missed where the trees are. But as you're walking through this place, you can hear the sound of falling trees in the distance. This is exactly how that drunkard buffoon described it. And you think that you're close to the beast now, as you've gained another mark. However, this walk through this place is no simple thing. These markings draw upon your superstitions and paranoia. Everyone, please roll your stress die.
Felris is fine for now.
All good.
All good.
As well, there's a strange magic to this place. Strange channeling of the weird, as this ranger has forebode. Everyone, please make an intelligence test. Resist the effects of this magic. Innate and lying dormant along this path.
Hard fail.
That's a fail.
I passed because of my level up.
Perfect. So the both of you, both Felris and Kandra, you are unnerved by this magic of this place. You can feel your own bodies becoming nauseous, upset. Perhaps you have the runs. Perhaps you ate something a bit undercooked back at the camp. But you're a bit unnerved and uneasy. And when you rest for the next night, you'll certainly find out what has happened to you. Though you have no sense of what really it is yet.
And I'm just prancing about between those markings, trying to, like a child, trying to see why it's like this. There is a puzzle and like an equation with an elegantly simple solution, but very hard to ascertain. I'm just enthralled and looking around without any thought or worry for my companions.
Then you notice something about these symbols. You know that they channel magic, a magic much more primal than any magic that you've studied before. And you think that if you were to practice and memorize these symbols, you could channel a similar magic. Do you wish to learn the spell contained within these runes?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Um, I will see what kind of spell is held within these runes. It's going to involve a roll from you. So, roll me a d20, please.
I got a 20.
All right, perfect. So it's going to be that. Roll me a d4.
Three.
You find there's a spell hidden in these runes, and if you wish to memorize it, you'd be able to do so. The spell here, you'd name it yourself, called Forceful Stitch. You know that this spell will bind creatures together, often just even injuring them. You know of a way to just restrain and tie using strange, weird rope, almost pure magic, primal magic, to stitch beings together in a forceful way. I'll put the actual effect of the spell in our chat after the session, for you to memorize in the next session. It is a level 4 spell, however.
Fuck me. I'll be sketching and writing these markings with spells and just acronyms for gestures in my notebook, and will be completely absorbed, muttering to myself.
And so about halfway along this trail, the ranger suggests that you once again camp for the night. You've gotten closer to the beast, he exclaims, though this is when we must rest. So yet again, we'll have to camp for the night. And once again, we have to choose our roles for what we do here as you kind of pick a spot along this trail of ruined trees. Straying from it is, or even doubling back to where you came from, is worse than just saying right where you are. Which roles do you wish to take up on this evening?
I think
Knowing full well that shelter, water, and food are of dire importance.
I think it might be best this time for 2 people to look for water, since we couldn't find any the last time. So I think Falbus would look for water.
Alright, I'll join.
Andrew will look for food and we'll get Huneric to do up the shelter.
Generic shelter. We had Felris on water. And Darren, what do you wish to do? Do you wish to stay idle? Perhaps even sketching out this spell even more? Or do you wish to do something?
I'm kind of thirsty, so I'll go with Felris to look for some water
Right, perfect.
rather than food, because water doesn't fight back.
All right, everyone please roll me a d6. Though Kendra, you just said disadvantage, as again the blight has set in here and food is harder to catch.
Lower is worse, right?
Yes, lower is worse.
1.
All right, perfect. Hudrick sets up a proper shelter and keeps the fire going strong. And all of you come back with nothing to show for it. Water is non-existent as you fear to stray too far. No river nearby. All the food you bring back is just blighted and disgusting and completely unedible and foul. And so, as of getting only one success total amongst all of you, that's going to be, let's see, page 12, hopping back and forth all the time. Bad times. Everyone here, including Henrik himself, will be suffering from one level of exhaustion, although you can dip into your own supply to mitigate this as you get your own food and water.
Yeah.
To do so, you have to roll your supply die. Just once, not twice.
Okay.
All fine.
Still good for supply for me.
We good.
So no, we don't get the exhaustion? Is that right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, correct. Yep. You've instead of going hungry or thirsty tonight, you just kind of break into your breads and dried meats that you brought with you and your water skins. This fire, however, keeps you safe and warm, thanks to Hudric's good woodsmanship. And soon night comes down upon you, and things grow dark. And spending yet another day away from civilization harrows you even more. Everyone, please roll your stress die.
Oh. I failed.
Still fine.
Felris, it wears on you. Though one thing I forgot to mention is at these kind of campfire scenes, you can try to encourage each other to keep going and pressing on. Each of you can make a charisma test to help out another person. So 3 of you can make charisma tests to help out another person, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, Kendra will do that for Felris then. Success.
And so Felris, your die size will go up 1 size before you took that stress damage.
Okay. Okay.
So Felris got a fail on the stress thing. And so when night grows long, the call of the wild stirs in your hearts and bones, much more even still. Kendra, you have to roll a d100 for me, and Felris, you'll have to roll 2 of them for me. 2 d100s, and tell me each of the results.
73.
Got 5 and 41.
Sorry, Kendra, what did you get? You got a 73?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Kendra, your night is strange. Seems the effect of the weird has affected you from the trees. There's this apparition that hangs on your periphery. It's just idly sits there, some memory, perhaps even of the prince that died next to you. It follows you. It never speaks. But it seems to whistle idly every now and then. And it draws close. You seem to have to shift away It drifts ever slowly, sure, but you have to keep kind of moving and shuffling along the fire. And what was Fellers's 2 rolls?
5 and 41.
5 and 41. Fittingly, Fellerus, as the night goes long for you, you get the following 2 things. 41, you said?
Yes.
Your dreams and waking moments at this campfire awaken in you something even more primal, as a certain kind of beast within you is awoken by being out far away from civilization. You can smell and taste blood in the air, as if your nose is stronger, your tongue more keen, and your mind shoves away those thoughts of fear and sadness. You get a more stoic mind as you care less for the things that a normal man might be shaken by, as this beast within you awakens further.
Question: with these stresses, are they permanent?
They are, yes.
Okay.
Though perhaps some kind of magic can restore them. They are at least permanent for the time being. And so morning comes. It is a well-welcomed morning. But you're still here amidst these trees. Perhaps you thought that in your dreams this was all just a thing that would be passing by. When you wake up again, you're grounded in the reality that you're deep in the woods. You're not being chased by some feral creature like your dream mind thought, but you're certainly not in a town. You're certainly not in somewhere comfortable. For some of you, this is as far in the woods as you've ever gotten before, perhaps even farther than that. This is a thing that no man should ever, or even woman or child, should ever have to experience, being this far from civilization and safety. It gnaws on your mind, it gnaws in your belly. It calls forth something that you thought forever hidden amongst all kind of men. The path, of course, leads onwards. It winds and trails and twists. Your undead ranger, growing a bit more wrinkled now, though only a slight amount, urges you to set out again this day, guiding you towards your quarry. Do you say or do anything in the morning before setting out to hunt your quarry again? Any of you?
I think you would notice probably the lack of Felrus saying or doing anything. In the past, he'd always whistled, hummed some tune, made some jokes, some wise remarks, but not this morning. This morning he is stony and silent.
I would be reviewing my book. Just without the care that I usually put on my notebook and books, wrinkling the pages and without really caring as I usually do.
Kendra looks like she didn't get a lot of sleep, but I suppose probably we all seem a bit like that. It's not a particularly restful environment. And maybe even once or twice during the night, maybe at one point during the night, Kendra came and woke Felrus up to say, or maybe she woke everyone up during the camp actually to say, ready your weapons. I think something's coming. And then she just stared into the darkness. Seemingly she could see something, but none of you could hear or see whatever it was that seemed to be spooking her, and probably told her to piss off and went back to trying to sleep.
You wake up with a surprise, all of you. There's been, as you look in your kind of supplies to gather things up and head out again, you notice that some of your supplies have been set in by a rot and blight. As all of your supply dice shrinks by one size, as many things have turned foul, your water and your food, gripped by some kind of strange rot that hangs in this place. The same rot that grips all the game and flora in this place.
Oof. I'm down to a D4 for supply.
I look frustrated towards Huneric and say, how much further?
Just beyond this place yet. You're quick on its trail. Only a few more days, I reckon.
Better get going then.
So I've got, sorry, just meta for a second. I've got 3 marks so far. Okay, cool. Yeah, because we didn't get any for obtaining Huneric on our roster, did we? No.
Yeah, I've tracked it. Three marks. Also, I forgot to be tracking light for you guys. It's been, what, 2 days now? You've traveled? So that'll be 2 rolls of your light die.
What, we have a D6 for light?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have it separate or just as a group?
Just as a group. All you need to roll. Just roll it all for the group, not individual rolls.
I think Kandra has our light, I think.
Yeah, I rolled a 1 and a 6, so it's down to a D4 now.
Perfect. You also have that oil that you have to burn that you brought can also act as light. So you probably have something you can use as a lantern to use it up. Though using up your oil would mean you can't use it against the beast when you find it.
Yeah, I do think Felris would be trying to save that as much as possible, so unless we're desperate for light, I think he would keep it.
And so, the next, do you continue on to progress against Akori still, or do you cut your losses and head back to town to perhaps be a bit more prepared?
No. Felris wants to
get this over with.
Yeah. We've
Perfect.
lost so much.
kind of halfway. We'd have to spend as many more nights to get back home as if we just continued on. So
whoever joins Henrik in the hunt to track and find the marks of this beast can put themselves forward. Felris, with your newfound ability of blood scent, you'll be being able to do so at advantage.
Yeah, I think Felris would step forward for this day.
And so with Hunrik's help, you get a bonus D6, and from your blood sense, you get a bonus D6.
Ooh.
So you can roll 3 D6 and pick the best one.
Dang.
You're hunting the quarry. Higher the better.
Ooh, that's a 6. That's 2 6s.
So a 6 it is.
Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect. Roll for me 2 D8s as well.
Okay. That's a 7 and a 6.
7 and a 6.
Mm-hmm.
As you progress along this trail, following along and noticing the path with Huneric, your blood scent kicks in, Felris, as you smell something on the wind. If you were to follow it, the smell of blood, you'd find a corpse of a person freshly slain. A dead hunter this far in seems strange. But you know this would be a mark of your quarry, for his chest is rendered agape, blood soaking his leather clothes. Nothing else here is scarred, but it seems his heart, lungs, and liver are all missing, having been ripped out forcefully by something with great teeth or claws. His face is intact, and frozen on it is a face of fear. There's strange splinters embedded in his clothes and flesh, with the mark of a quarry.
And I think Valrus would turn to the others and... This is just like the cows at the farms. Perhaps there was some truth to what that old blind coot had said. He looks, it like points to the madness, I guess, the fear, or not madness, but the fear plastered on the man's face.
So I guess we should avoid looking at its eyes, or a single eye.
It would be best. Let's not take any chances.
Well, it seems we're on the right track, at least. How old does this look, the body?
It looks quite fresh, definitely within the day. The maggots haven't even set in yet, beyond 1 or 2. The smell of it is getting to be a stench, though barely anything. The body is cold, but seems to have almost all of its belongings intact. So no beast has come scurrying through its packs yet, scavenge whatever it has, suggesting that perhaps whatever this hunter had could be of some use to you, if you're to scavenge his supplies. Definitely within a day, this hunter has died, and it almost makes you worry at how close you had been camping, and how close this death has happened. Perhaps that person could have been you.
Well, how about we check if it's got any torches or oil on it?
So, Darren, as you search the body, you have to make a roll for me. Make an intelligence or wisdom roll to try and find some stuff in his body.
Success. Intelligence roll.
Roll for me a D100 twice. Tell me each of the results.
68 and 76.
You find on this body, this hunter seems to be wearing at his side, kind of tied by a rope, is a fancy steel helmet with a faceplate that refuses to stay up. It's a bit rusty and worn. There's a bit of rust to this thing. Perhaps it's been scavenged in this woods itself, or at least by a fallen other person. This helmet provides an armor dye when worn.
Yeah, I'd pass it over to Kandra.
As she turns it over in her hands, she says, I wonder what his name was.
As well, on the neck of this hunter, you find a long necklace. Its beads are wooden sigils and letters of a strange language, a language that you recognize to be the language that the poems were written in. And the sigils seem to even match the sigils of the strange trees. This is a magical necklace, you wager, Aaron, though you don't quite know what it does.
I will take it.
as well as one of you find enough supply on this man to increase your die size by 1, but only one of you can do so. As well as enough torchlight and matchsticks on this man to increase your light die by 1 size.
I would give both of those to Kandra as well. Both the food and the light, and I'll keep the necklace.
Yeah, because Kandra, you only have a D4, right, for supplies?
Yeah, so my supply is back up to a D6 now, and our shared light is up to a D6.
Perfect.
Nice.
And as you progress back along this trail, continuing the hunt of this quarry, this weird magic sets in again, gnawing at your bones, at your organs, tempting them in different ways, unlocking the true primalness that lies within every being. Please, everyone, roll an intelligence test to resist this magic.
Is this against madness or mind-altering spells?
I would allow, yes, I would say that this is.
Okay.
You get advantage on this roll with your stoic mind.
Success.
Success from me.
Success from me as well.
All of you are a bit more hardened by the weird channeling magic of this trail, enough to progress farther and find another mark of your quarry. Imagine an owl pellet discarded to the side of this trail. Though it's not an owl pellet of small size. It's a strange tangle of flesh and fur and bone, kind of formed together and regurgitated. Inside, if you poke it with a stick, you'd find what would have been meat that would have been readily edible, though it's strangely pulpated and maggot-infested now. You recall how the beast devoured not the flesh and bones of creatures, but their organs themselves. You think perhaps this is the regurgitation of stuff it left, it's the stuff it discarded and left behind. There's, I guess, do you do anything in response to this find of the quarry? Do you say to each other as you kind of poke at it?
I don't go near it, but just nod when they say that. Probably from the beast.
At least it seems to be feeding on these strange creatures in these woods. And not just people and creatures from civilization.
It's just indiscriminate killing, I'd say.
Maybe we'll be lucky, and it will be full when we come upon it.
I don't think it's ever sated.
Wonder why it couldn't keep this down. Looks appetizing enough.
Maybe it was full. I need more room to keep eating.
So the trail continues as you follow along with the undead ranger, Huneric. And all of you catch a scent. The smell in this place is drifted from the smell of like strange rotting cheese. Oh, sorry, no. The smell of strange rotting cheese. So now it's drifted to a lovely floral scent. The ranger sniffs the air. There's fruit nearby, he'd say. And lo and behold, you'd see to the left the ripe fruit. It's like oranges, though a bit plumper than oranges, growing in a kind of copse of trees to the left. You'd need to stray from the path to get there, but it's there and it's tantalizing. You remember bringing back all that blighted food that could not be eaten. And these things seem so ripe and delicious. And you'd reckon you could pick some and scroll them away to increase your supply die by a size.
Fresh fruit? Oh boy. How far away from the path is it?
It's only a few yards. And it's just so strange. You see these copse of fruit-bearing trees. They're surrounded by these ragged birch trees that surround all of them with the strange carvings in them.
My wisdom tells me we probably should not venture away from the path.
Have you seen anything like this before? Looks at Hunric? I don't know.
Huneric would see the trees and smell them on their nose. He'd go, "Oh, I haven't smelt anything like that ever before. Oh, this sensation of youth, so alluring, and so do I welcome it." He would stray from the path. He would step towards the trees. He would pick, and as he steps off this trail,
I wouldn't let him step off
would-
the trail.
you wouldn't let him.
No, I would cast a charm spell and say it would be wise to stay on the path as we've been advised many times before.
The fruit smells so sweet.
Probably one
guess.
of those tricks that we were warned about by the other hunters.
Of course, it's best to keep our wits about us, isn't it? The hunter then rationalizes amidst this charm person spell.
As you would well know as a ranger yourself.
Very well, let's press on. And when he says, "Let's press on," there's a strange gnawing at your stomach when you smell these fruit. It's just so tantalizing. All three of you, please make a charisma test. Is there something about these trees that just draw you in? And this is a mind-altering effect, I guess. So your stoic mind would be involved here, fellas.
Success.
Charisma.
That is not a success for Felrus.
It is a success for me, surprisingly.
Felris, you can't help but be drawn in by this orchard of sweet fruits, as you are required to use your movement to go towards them.
Felrus had been quiet for a while, and then he just, the hunter may be right. Just one bite might even bring us back the year that we lost. And
What the fuck are you talking about?
Felrus begins to start walking towards.
And when your feet leave this imagined trail, you're fine. The leaves kind of crush underfoot. You cross the few yards it takes to get to this little orchard of trees. Kandra, this whistling ghost, grows louder in your periphery. It seems to be warning you of something. Felrus, you can reach up and grab a fruit here and take a deep bite of its juicy, almost like a peach, is how ripe the skin is ready to burst. The sweet nectar drips down your chin. It is so satisfying tasting these fruit. Within moments, you're able to grab another. You can even probably pick a few of these and scroll them away.
And he does so.
And so you can increase your supply by one size by picking these fruit.
These are These are delicious. I've never had anything like them. They haven't had anything like this in the mountains, ever. You have to try one.
In Kandra's mind, in her mind, she can hear this discordant sort of whistling noise. You know how like in a movie there's like a single note that kind of builds when it's like a tense scene, like the start of Batman Dark Knight or something like that. That's been like building as she's just been watching it. Felrus in this just like lovely little fruit picking scene. It's like this horrible discordant thing in her mind, and she's like, bring them back to the trail now.
Felrus, you are overwhelmed with the smell of honey and flowers that just blooms from this place. You see in the corner of your eye a figure in the distance that comes out from between some trees. She's picking some of these fruits herself, putting them in a basket. Her hair is long. She's garbed almost in minimal clothing, it seems. And Felrus, whatever you find alluring, you see on this woman. Perhaps it's the eyes of someone who you used to love in your childhood years, or perhaps the face or the hair color of someone that you've missed. Describe for me, please, Em, what's something that Felrus would see on this figure?
I would imagine that Felrus would see characteristics very similar to his wife. The hair, though brown, shines honey in the sun. She always had these ice blue eyes and that matched the snow from the mountains and the ever growing, never receding ice that formed in the north. And it would remind him so much of her.
And as you catch a glimpse of this beautiful maiden, this strange allure again hangs over you. Roll another charisma test, please, with advantage because of your stoic mind.
Yeah, you
As
would.
this-
Yeah, you would. Sorry, you would see him just kind of mutter like, "Gretchen." It just like kind of like this. Yeah. Oh my. That's another fail.
You can't help but step towards her as she notices you and calls back to you. Oh, come closer, she'd say to you, holding out another one of these fruits. And as Felrus takes note of this figure, so too do the two of you, also seeing this maiden appear. And each of course, this maiden looks in an alluring fashion of whatever you find most admirable about any kind of partner. And there's almost a strange androgyny that an unbiased viewer would see in this creature. If you wish to point out the male features, you'd see them. If you wish to see the female features, you'd also see them. But of course, this is strange magic that hangs over the air. As both of you please make a charisma test. As you spot this alluring figure.
Fail.
Hey,
Likewise, you're drawn in to the sweet smell of honey and nectars, and a voice that hangs on the air that just soothes your minds. Oh, do come here. It is safe here. Come, let us tell stories together. She pulls you in, Felrus. You're within arm's length of her. She goes in just for a quick hug, just to whisper something in your ear. Make a charisma test, please. With advantage.
Yes. That's a pass.
Because of this pass, you're able to notice something horrifying happening in front of you. From top to bottom, from tip of the head down to near base of her waist, splits open sideways, like a great sideways mouth, as she's trying to pull you in as these fangs appear and swallowing you whole with these nasty teeth that drip with a strange venom. And upon seeing this, Kendra and Darren, you can also make a charisma test to shake off the strange pheromone allure that this creature wafts.
Ah, she's still hot, man. I mean, I'm not a king James.
That's a success for Kendra, so...
So the both of you, please, roll me initiative, which is a dexterity test. If you pass, you get to go before this monster. If you fail, you go after.
Ooh.
Pass.
Yeah, pass.
Felris, you are just about to be consumed by a hug of this creature, which turns out to be a strange, terrifying mob of this creature pulling its own body apart to consume you almost in entirety. What do you want to do? You have an action.
Felris wants to drop, like use all of his weight and just drop, and hopefully that surprise in weight will force this creature to kind of let go of him. Because she's kind of holding on, right? Like kind of...
Barely holding on. There's no actual grip to it. You're able to break free with a swift motion by doing so. Yeah.
Yeah, he would like drop and kind of roll away with lightning speed. And he is gonna be running the hell away.
So using your movement, you can get back to the trail by dropping and pulling away. You still have an action available to you.
Does he notice Kendra or Darren, I guess, more specifically, still infatuated or still kind of entranced?
You see that Darren and Huneric seem to be entranced by this being. But Kendra has broken free at least, or even never was affected, you're not quite sure.
Who is closest to Felris? As he's running. This is going to be a bit back, like as he's running towards the trail. Who is closer?
It'll be Huneric is closest.
Okay, Felris is going to tackle Huneric. She's not real! Just kind of like... Or,
make a strength, make a strength test, please, to tackle him out of this false sense of comfort.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, that's a pass.
As you knock this old man, this middle-aged man, to his senses, he realizes the true terrifying nature of this creature as the actual strangely marked creature that's in no way, shape, or form any kind of person. It's actually just like a sideways mod creature with almost like strange tendrils that make its legs move across the ground. You can imagine probably what a mimic would look like, and this is not too far off of that image. This is definitely not a person. And then goes Kendra. You have an action and a movement you can do. The creature is nearby.
Okay. So almost like a tag team as Felris retreats and returns to the path. Kendra draws her axe and slings her shield around from her back onto her arm as she charges towards this thing. So would it be an action to don my shield and axe?
No, I'd say that's
just the interaction.
You can just do it. Yeah.
Cool. So she'll close the distance and just start swinging with this sort of Germanic looking war axe with the sort of spike on the back. Finely made weapon. And so it's the first. I think this is what session 3 is. The first time I get to try this.
So attacking with a melee weapon will be a strength test. This is a powerful foe, so you're going to add 3 to the roll.
Okay.
You want to roll under your strength.
Or equal to my strength.
No, strength. If you roll equal, it's a fail.
Yeah.
You want to roll under your strength.
Yeah. No worries. So that's a miss then. So she comes in and starts swinging, but has never fought a creature with this kind of anatomy before, and notes its tendrils and things, and so maybe doesn't get the right sort of positioning to land a strike.
You notice that the flowing garb of this creature is actually also its flesh that kind of parts and moves in a strange way. As nothing about this creature at all seems real. This woman is definitely not a real woman, as you know for a fact now. As you're now immune to the pheromone ability of this creature, and likewise anyone who's also succeeded, which includes Felris, Huneric, and now Kandra. The creature now is now its turn, as it slashes at you with these fake hands that produce strange claws and try to pull you into its massive gaping maw. Please roll me 2 strength tests, with adding 3 to each result. If that makes any sense.
That's 2 failures.
Claws rake you, and the maw pull you in and chomp on you with this 1,000-toothed maw. The claws are going to deal. Where's my D4? I don't have a D4. D6 it'll be then. That'll be 1 point of damage with the claws. And the maw comes in, whoosh, pinching you from either side with these just blade-like teeth. It's going to be 6 points of damage. And you can block this damage by using an armor die, if you so
And
choose.
that's for each source of damage? So I could block the 1 and or the 6? Or
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So the claws I'll take the 1, and then I'll use one of my armor points from my actual scaled tunic.
Perfect.
Cool.
So one of your armor becomes broken as one of your D6 gets spent into your broken pile. You'll have to use time during a rest to repair them, if you even get the chance to live through this, instead of taking the damage. Go to you, Darren. As you are enamored by this creature, at the beginning of your turn, you'll make a charisma test to break free, I guess, of the allure of this creature.
Oh yeah. After seeing it actually jump on Kandra, that's when it clicks that, oh, wait a second. That doesn't seem right. And that's a success to break off this charm.
Perfect. You have the full faculty of your turn now to do with whatever you wish, as you've realized the true nature of this creature.
After a split second of surprise from realizing what that is, I immediately take the pose that allows me to easily make the gestures I need, and just point towards it. My eyes turn bright purple, and 2 almost like would be a firework, but made of light, and would shoot away and go straight for it and hit it as I cast a magic missile.
Perfect.
So
what is the effect of magic missile? It is to do straight up damage.
Yeah, it's a far away or distant target takes 1d6 damage for each of the spellcaster's levels. So that's 2d6.
Yep.
That's 4 points of damage.
All right, perfect. The magic careens the creature, scarring it and blasting it with 4 damage. It hisses, which sounds like a scream to some of you. Others like a yell. Others like a terrible, monstrous hiss. As this creature is not affected by this. Oh, sorry, not happy by this.
And I retain the sequence of the spell in my memory.
Perfect. That'll bring us back up to the top with Felris. You've tackled Huneric I guess it's Huneric's turn. As he's kind of wondering what's going on, he would kind of push you off Felris. He's like, "What? Ugh!" As he tries for his action to get up off the ground and string his bow to attack this creature, but he's a bit disoriented by your tackle that you've done to him. If you let him, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be now your turn, Felris.
So Felris wants to regain his footing. Would that be an action then?
No, that'll be your move. Part
Okay.
of your move, at least.
Okay. And can he get to the thing?
Yep.
And take out his short sword?
Yep.
Perfect. he's going to withdraw and just charge in with a cry to help Kandra try and hit this thing.
It'll be a strength test.
Okay.
With if you have to add 3 to your roll.
Oh, that's a fail.
And this creature's, what do you think would be this maiden's skin is actually hard like bark that would kind of glance, and you cannot find purchase on this creature. Kandra, you're being chomped by this gnashing maw of this sideways jaw of this creature. What do you want to do?
So is she sort of grappled with it, like it's latched onto her at the moment, or?
Effectively, yeah.
Yeah.
So you still have kind of free reign to do whatever you want.
Yeah. So she will. Should I roll first and then narrate it? Yeah. So she'll attack, and that's a fail. So she tries to bash it with the shield to get it to loosen its grip, because she can't quite swing the axe around at the moment, but it's just not letting go.
And as you kind of bash at it, it grows more fervent and more strong. It's going to try and swallow you whole as the mob kind of reaches around and begins to try and close. You need to either make a strength or dexterity test to avoid being completely swallowed whole by this creature.
Okay, here we go. Strength. Ooh, success.
Is that including a +3 to the roll?
Oh shit, no it's not. That would make it a fail.
All right. The creature swallows you whole, and you find these strange digestive fluids beginning to kind of excrete from the inside of the membrane of this thing. Almost like a Venus flytrap is what you imagine the inside of this is like. You're going to suffer 9 points of damage as you're being digested alive. You can, however, block this with your armor die. Probably should.
Yes, that will be the rusty face-plated helmet. We'll cop that one, I think.
All right, perfect. It breaks and sundered by this creature's attacks. That'll bring us then to Darren.
As I was preparing to restart the sequence for the magic missiles, I see Kandra being swallowed whole by this thing, and I just stop and retrace my symbols, and I cast charm to the monster, but it gets a different vibe with a more dominating voice. I command it to spit her out.
All right, perfect.
It obeys a simple command and performs a simple action. Just
perfect.
Spit her out.
You are spat out, Kandra, kind of tossed to the ground prone by this creature. That'll bring us then to Huneric, who clumsily, and then at first, but then gaining his traction, knocks an arrow and fires onto this thing. He's able to do it. Perfect. He rolled low. Twang! An arrow strikes this thing deep, kind of causing it to kind of reel back a bit, dealing 3 damage to it. Belarus, it's your turn. This creature threatens to swallow one of you again with its gaping, gnashing.
Okay. Sorry, OBS just said it just disconnected, so I was confused. Felrus is going to try and stab this the sword in its maw to try and prevent it, hopefully, from opening. And with a 3, that is still lower, so I pass.
Perfect. You're able to find purchase in the soft, fleshy tissue of this creature's inside its maw. Roll your damage for me, please.
I'm not sure. I have 2 short swords, and it didn't say.
Your damage is based on your class. At the top of your class, it'll say what your attack damage is.
Oh. Okay, thank you. That makes sense. 1d6.
Able to do a d6 of damage.
2.
2 damage.
Okay.
As you're able to slice into the soft tissue of the inside of this creature's maw. It kind of it hisses and kind of spits at you backwards. Spits at you back, excuse me. Kendrick's return, as you've just been expelled through the magic of Darren. You're alive, thankfully. What do you want to do?
Yeah, she has no idea why this thing spat her out straight after eating her, but she doesn't question it. But she was spilled out onto the ground, and the faceplate of the helm rolled off her head. And it and she, I imagine, are covered in viscous goo. And she gets to her feet, maybe sort of slipping a little bit. One hand sort of slipping partly out from under her as she gets up. She looks around and grabs the axe. She still has the shield strapped to her arm, and sort of stumbles forward with purpose rather than charges this time, to engage it again. Shield first, and then coming to swing around with the axe. And there we go. That's a success.
Perfect. So you get to do your damage.
Yes, which is 2d6 as the warrior. And so that'll be 7 damage.
A nasty gash between the battering of your shield and the slice of your axe sends this creature with an almost mortal wound being dealt to it. It retaliates, however, striking at you again with claw and fang produced from its strange body. Roll me 2 strength tests, please, Kandra. Both of the +3 to the roll.
Yep. So that is 2 failures.
Right. The first gnashing by claws is going to do 3 damage to you. And you're free to block that if you wish. And secondly, the teeth come in, rending like knives for 8 damage.
So she'll take the claws, unable to fend them off with the shield, but then the bite will come down hard on the shield, and take another chunk out of that, and sort of wrench it from her arm.
Right, perfect. Darren, it's your turn.
Flick my hand back, retrace the hand gestures for the magic missiles, and throw 2 more at its back while it's focusing on Kandra.
Right, perfect. That's 2d6 damage.
That's 7 damage.
7. This creature seems to be near death, with only a few hit points remaining, as this blast of magic rends its arm off, just completely blasting it. Though you fear that this creature needs its arm less than a typical humanoid would, as it seems to kind of almost seal up the wound with the strange body form that it has. You have to roll with disadvantage now to keep the memory intact, as you've already cast a spell this session.
I don't remember that anymore.
Yeah, you've lost the magic of the arcane missile. It's now the turn of Huneric, who again launches his bowstring, plucking at it and striking 5 points of damage with his arrow. Pierces and does the last blow to this creature, killing it outright. As it kind of gurgles and bubbles on the ground, dead, bleeding with a strange black blood that kind of soaks into the soil. Guys gain an experience point from defeating a powerful foe. As you kind of look around in the calm of the chaos now, you realize really the state of this place. Yes, the trees are beautiful and the fruit are ripe, but the ground is no ordinary topsoil. You can see bones, shattered and broken, fragmented, mixed in with the topsoil, almost disguised as rocks, until you notice further. You think, perhaps, that this is what it does to things that it eats, spits them out, and uses it as fertilizer for its grove. And that's going to be the end of the session. In this fruity orchard of a strange wheeled siren is what it's called.
Ooh.
That was really cool. What an interesting enemy. What a grim fate. You'd become fertilizer for its orchard.
I think
You are half. Go ahead.
so. I just think at that point, Felris would just like drop to the ground sitting, and then offer Kendra a peach, and eat one himself, or like this fruit.
She's just like covered in this goop. She's just like,
I just pat Huneric. Good shooting.
He seems a bit haggard for this. Yeah, cool. With halfway to your quarry with 5 marks, and a few boons and a few banes. Good job, folks. We're gonna close down shop here. Let viewers on their way. Thanks anyone who watched. Thanks anyone who will watch. It was a blast. And pick up Black Hack if you got the chance. Peace.